you know that every word that you use, every piece of insight that you share can ripple through olders and youngers now and from the future? And by mentoring, which is a education approach, it's a way of influencing the lives of others and potentially reshaping entire communities. And herein is legacy contributions. Another way to share this is when you listen, you learn; where you share, you educate. And I wanted to bring to your attention today this notion of aging confidently so that mentoring unlocks your legacy impact. To be able to do that, I wanted to bring to the foreground some concepts about mentoring and legacy and introduce you to a concept called mentoring as legacy as a way in which to gain age confidence, and also this notion of aging confidently. There is a call to action at the end, so I encourage you to stick around and take up that action. I think that you will find it to be of great value. Where this is all coming from is from my own practice of about 40 years of being a mentor, occasionally coaching and facilitating, training, instructing, but really leaning into the world of mentoring. And now, as I find myself having passed through the 60s, I'm now into my 70s, I realize that this aging confidently storyline connected with mentoring and legacy is really growing within me. And I said, well, hang on a minute. If I'm going to do that, why don't I share it with others? And thus came about this legacy program, this mentoring format that I eventually called mentoring as legacy. So let's take a look at mentoring to start with. Now, mentoring for me is an education approach, and those that I interact with will pick up on that very quickly because it's connected to other educational approaches. And there's a book I wrote many years ago about these different education approaches. I am actually revising it to bring it to the foreground, and I will be certainly highlighting mentoring through this lens I'm going to share with you now. So mentoring is holistic, it's reciprocal, and it's about personal and professional learning and development. Now, some people might say, professional? I'm not a professional. Well, I believe if you act in a professional way, you can lean into the world of professional. And therefore, it's for the mentor and the mentee, this personal and professional learning and development. And what I've learned along the way is that it's based on trust and respect, truth and transparency, and patience and discretion. I've learned along the way that they are really, really important. But here is one of the great distinctions I make about mentoring. In the time together, this arrangement and connection between mentor and mentee, it's really framed by the mentee asking the mentor questions and then collaboratively exploring and finding the answer that the mentee requires. Is one of the greater distinctions. There's others, and there's some videos that I'll put a link in around this video just to update you about things like coaching and mentoring, what happens with those. So, with that sense of an education approach with mentoring, let's connect it with legacy. Now, legacy is, for me, again, is about the use of time, effort, and money that you gift others so that they can learn something from your experience. The way in which you go about living your life, the way in which you use your time, effort, and money gives clues to your legacy and who you are and your hierarchy of values. And what I encourage people when I'm sharing with them is to think of it this way, is to leave your legacy. In other words, living a legacy life. And in doing so, what you're doing is impacting a meaningful storyline, a project, contributions for youngers and olders. Again, this notion of now and from the future. So bringing these terms together, why mentoring as legacy? It's a great question. Many people ask me. It's one of those questions that clients and customers will ask when they're interacting with me through the initial conversations about what program or project they'd like to work with me. And this is my response. It highlights an approach to living legacy life. So mentoring is a way in which to approach living a legacy life. And mentoring is in the foreground. A legacy is a little bit of the background. So again, it's this use of time, effort, and money assigned to mentoring. And mentoring is about leveraging experiences, remaining relevant, being able to engage with mentees in ways that further your perspective as a mentor, enrich the mentees' perspectives, and therefore, from these personal experiences, these shared experiences, you figure out what it means to be for the world, with the planet, and from the whole. So this foreground background notion is really important to mentoring as legacy. So some benefits, and I've highlighted and worked around some of it. Let me be just a little bit more pragmatic and really look at it in detail. From a personal point of view, there is this notion of self-awareness, self-concept, you as a mentor and the mentee. There is the satisfaction of being able to share, pass along your wisdom, your knowledge and skills and attitudes towards work and living. And there's also, if you're continuing to engage with this work, this discovering and shaping who you are with the world, then there is personal development, professional development that goes with that. And that comes about because of this educating approach called mentoring that you are putting into action. So a little bit more about that professional side of things. It's also about enhancing your leadership skills and management skills. It expands your professional networks because as you go about doing what you're doing and sharing, the mentee may ask you to introduce them to others that might arrange a benefit for all parties. And directly and indirectly, the industry or the domain of knowledge, what it is that you're sharing can actually be expanded and extended. So using mentoring in the workplace as applies, but also mentoring from a community perspective, there is this reinforcement, the expansion, extension of what it is you're talking about, sharing and shaping it for other places. Now, from a community perspective, there is the contribution to the development of future leaders. And I think that that is a wonderful extension because that's like a storyline of now from the future. It's about tomorrow, today, if you will. And it's also a contribution to this notion of a movement of learning and support, which is really important in today's world, especially for the youngers, and being able to tap into that, being able to, as a younger, finding an older elder, to be able to gain insight is so important. Now, this notion of aging confidently or to gain age confidence. Again, I'll just mention is that this whole notion, this currency that I associate with living life, living a legacy life, aging confidently, was something that was out on the fringes. But as I've been looking at this mentoring as legacy storyline, this project, this legacy project of mine, I've come to really appreciate aging confidently as one of the statements, like remain relevant, leverage experience, determine the quality of your events that you want to attend or share. So it has a very profound filter or lens to look at mentoring as legacy, this aging confidently. And what it does is it really deepens and brings to the foreground your purpose, and it fulfills that purpose and helps you understand your hierarchy of values. And when you're able to pull all of that together, then you deepen and enrich this notion of living a legacy life and using this educating approach called mentoring. So when olders in particular and youngers learning about this and they engage in this mentoring and legacy and using this filter of aging confidently, then they're shaping lives that affirm what is relevant for them. And this relevance then engages with, encourages reciprocity, which goes back to the definition earlier, which brings forward this notion of being able to show reliability and to be able to bring forward this whole notion of resilience. And when you're able to bring these sort of R words to the foreground, you start to really appreciate what aging confidently is about. So, this whole idea of being able to get into this reciprocal nature of mentoring ensures that you as a mentor can guide others and therefore bring to life, to breathe in this mental, emotional connection, the soul, spiritual stimulation, this fostering a sense of continuous practice. And that is crucial for confident aging. So, this whole idea of weaving together mentoring and legacy and aging confidently under the banner of managing as legacy, I believe, and those that I've been sharing this with have said, you're onto something here. And that's why I wanted to bring this video to the foreground, take a little bit more of an open dialogue about this. And I'm using the word dialogue now is because I want to offer a call to action. And this call to action is a way in which you can reflect on someone who's living a legacy life through mentoring. Now, this person could be male or female, past or present. You could even be real or imaginary. But what I'd like you to do is just sort of think and feel with someone who you believe exemplifies this notion of living a legacy life through mentoring. And with that reflection, I ask you to find 3 to 5 ways to describe how that person is impacting what it is that is happening for them and those they're engaging with, and therefore indirectly with you. Now, if it is a current mentor, great, then you can speak more personally about that. Because what you're looking at is this notion of mentoring effectiveness, efficiency, relevantness. These are the kind of things that you're looking for. And with the characteristics that you draw from this reflection, which of those are that you would want to weave into your living a legacy life, into mentoring? And being able to weave those together, there's sort of like threads that become strings, that become cords, that become ropes. And that is really helpful because when you are developing those, they can become frameworks and models and actions that you can take to advance this notion of aging confidently. And I would encourage you then to plan and execute those learnings, those characteristics with your mentoring practice, that if you're called to, why not share them somehow, write them? If you sculpt or crochet or whatever it might be, how might you express what you've just learned here about aging confidently? So you can share it along. It would become a legacy contribution. And that is a wonderful way in which to look at aging confidently, to take things that you enjoy doing and sharing them with others in whatever way makes sense for you. So this call to action, breathe into it. In other words, take the time to reflect, and then as you breathe out, find ways in which to share what you've learned inside and bring it forward. If you want to connect it through the comments section around this video, please do. If you want to go to the website, there's a link below. Use the contact form and let me know what you came up with. Hey, I really appreciate that. They may lead to other videos and maybe I'd interview you. How's that? So with that, I want to just acknowledge that where I was going with this video was about aging confidently and having mentoring unlock your legacy impact. And if you can do that, that is about well-being, well-living. It's a life well lived. It's about persons knowing your lasting and meaningful impact and that ripple effect with youngers and olders today and